World Cup 2019. Where is it being shown around the world? I'm not going to go through every country who's getting the Rugby World Cup, but I'm going to go through a select few. I'll put a link in the description for you guys for World Rugby's official site for all the listings they've got. But I want to have a look basically which countries have got it free to air and which countries are you having to pay. And also I will put in my 2 cents about a suggestion if you guys haven't made your mind up on how to get access to the Rugby World Cup as yet. So I'll start basically going in alphabetical order for the countries I'm going to cover. And then also at the end, we'll talk a little bit about some of the commentary teams that will or may be providing some coverage for the Rugby World Cup, because there are some big names who I've seen confirmed, some guys who won't be there in terms of pundits and commentators and whatnot. So yeah, that'll be a good one to have a look at as well. So for Australia, if I'm starting with the A's, they are a mix of free-to-air and pay TV. So they've got two different channels who will be showing Rugby World Cup games over there. It's Network 10. Those are for the free-to-air games. They're going to have 10 matches live, including the Australian pool games and some of the playoff games, plus the opening game. So 10 games live. The rest of them on Fox Sports will, they're going to have all the other games, the other 38 games, and that's subscription based. So for the most part, in Australia you have to pay. So if you're in Australia and you want to watch a team other than Australia, you probably have to pay. We'll see how that goes. In Canada, it's only going to be on paid TV on TSN. I'm more familiar with them for doing the ice hockey, but yeah, I guess they're the sports network who are covering the rugby as well, so it's paid subscription service there. Interestingly, Fiji are having it on Fiji TV, also like Channel 10, free to air, but unlike Channel 10 in Australia, all 48 matches live. Free to air, and that's not just for Fiji, that's most of the Pacific, like Samoa, Tonga. I believe all those countries are covered under Fiji TV's broadcast, so I'm not sure what they would have had to pay in terms of the licensing. I mean, I imagine population-wise it's a relatively small market, but it's fantastic news for the people in Fiji and the rest of the Pacific that they can get access to all 48 matches without having to pay for a subscription, so that is awesome for those guys. For France, it's on TF1, and it is free to air. So that's, again, awesome news for the people in France. If you're in France, I guess you'll have access to all 48 matches live on TF1. But I'm assuming all the commentary will be in French. So when I talk about commentary teams, I'm not going to be talking about the French commentators or like the Afrikaans or Xhosa commentators in South Africa and whatnot, because I'm not familiar with them because I don't speak those languages. I'm just going to be focusing on English commentators for the most part. Germany is going to have it on Pro 7 Sat 1. I'm assuming that's a satellite-based TV subscription service. All 48 matches live, and a few will be free, including the final and the opening game. But I guess for the most part, that's paid. Hong Kong and other parts of Asia is an interesting one, like Singapore. They're going to have it on BN Sports, which is definitely a paid subscription service. Rugby Pass is generally one of the bigger operators in the Asian market with online streaming, again subscription based, but it seems like in terms of the World Cup they have lost out to some rivals. Because I'm a Rugby Pass subscriber, so there was a bit of kind of umming and ahhing as to whether they would get it. I did ask them about 6 months ago whether they'd have the Rugby World Cup, and they said maybe. So it would seem the answer for Asia with Rugby Pass is no, it's going to be on BN Sports. Ireland, kind of like Australia, is a mix of free-to-air and paid service. So RTE is having the free-to-air stuff, 14 matches including the opening game, all 4 Ireland games and 8 knockout matches. And IR Sports, I forget the pronunciation of that. I have seen their logo and whatnot introduced at the start of broadcasts before. They've got all 48 matches live on their channel 1 and 2, so yeah, I'll have a look at their commentary team a bit later because there's a few people there. The Netherlands, it's not free to air, but it is on, which is good news. It is on Ziggo, so 48 matches live on Ziggo Sport. That's good news. New Zealand was kind of an interesting one because traditionally Sky TV New Zealand, not to be confused with Sky TV in the UK. We're going to be the ones who would always have the rugby. They would always have Super Rugby, Mitre 10 Cup, All Blacks, but they lost the rights to the Rugby World Cup to one of our telecommunications companies who have just set up, basically, an online sports streaming service. They've gotten a few other sports along the way, like Formula One and field hockey and things like that. But yeah, the Rugby World Cup is kind of the jewel in their crown. How well they can set up that service remains to be seen, and the fact that it's a totally rival company will mean all those guys employed by Sky Sports commentary team aren't going to be at the Rugby World Cup. So yeah, I'll go over the guys they have chosen for their New Zealand-based Rugby World Cup commentary. Well, they'll be based in Japan as well, but all their pundits and whatnot. So yeah, if you want it, they're going to have it on Spark Sports, which is a live streaming service. As I said, whether they've got the technical capacity to provide it is going to be interesting. A lot of rural areas in New Zealand don't have fast enough internet to access it, so that kind of sucks. My place in suburban Auckland only got upgraded to high-speed internet, like fibre, this year, so just in time for me. That being said, they will have the opening match, all New Zealand's pool matches, and one of the quarterfinals, assuming New Zealand makes it out of the pool. They'll be broadcasting those free to air, both the semis and the finals. So you will be able to see some of it free to air. I think they're going to do some of the games delayed as well. So it's not all bad. I think if Spark can't get their online technology going, they will just pop the games on TV. So we'll see how that goes. South America, it's going to be on ESPN. I think depending on where you are, if you're in Brazil, it'll be in Portuguese. If you're everywhere else, it'll be in Spanish. So again, you'll be paying for that service because it's ESPN. South Korea is on MBC, not to be confused with NBC. Again, that looks to be paid because it's on a Sports Plus channel. South Africa and the rest of Sub-Saharan Africa is on SuperSport. So that's kind of the usual story. Everyone tells me that the SuperSport thing is kind of like Sky TV here in New Zealand, and that you pay for a basic package and then you have to upgrade to SuperSport, which is kind of a unfortunate business model that I think most of us would like to see kind of go the way of the dodo, because with everything else, Netflix and all those other streaming services, you just get what you want when you want to watch it, rather than having to pay for all that other rubbish that you don't want. So if that is the case still in South Africa, then I feel you're paying here in New Zealand. Then I guess that is one slightly nice thing about Spark taking the rights off Sky Sports in New Zealand, because it means that hopefully Sky gets the message that they need to up their game in terms of their options for customers. In the UK, and kind of why I'm wearing the England gear today, is because all the games, all 48, are going to be free on ITV. An awesome thing about them is they're putting it on ITV, ITV4, and the ITV Hub, which is their online streaming service. So as long as you're in the UK, you can stream the games online, and that's a point I will get to shortly. Also, they'll be doing the on S4C, they'll be doing the games in Welsh. Again, it's focusing on the Welsh games, pool games, and if Wales make it out of the pool, to their knockout games and whatnot. Also, for ITV, you should see their commentary lineup. Like, I thought Spark had spent a bit of coin to get some big guns in for pundits and whatnot. ITV's lineup is phenomenal. In the USA, it's going to be on NBC. I think it's going to be a mixture of free-to-air and paid. Some of it's going to be on NBC Gold, Sports Gold. So selected matches will be available just on NBC or NBCSN. So yeah, like many other places, it will be a mixed bag. So that's just a select few. As I said, there's plenty of other options. Oh, I forgot to mention Japan, who are the hosts. It's going to be on Nippon TV, NHK, which are both free-to-air channels, but then also some of it will be on J Sports. So like a lot of other places, it's a mix of paid and free for them. But as I said, if you're in one of the many places that doesn't get the rugby for free, and you haven't decided how you're going to get the rugby, there's another option, which I'll present to you now. The guys from ExpressVPN got in touch with me to basically say, look, the rugby is going to be free to air in the UK on ITV and on their ITV online hub, their online player. You can use ExpressVPN to switch your server location to a server in the UK, and then you appear to be in the UK, so you can immediately go and use that service. I'll give you a quick demo of how that works in a minute, but I will say from personal experience, if you've been with the channel for a long time, you know I used to live in China, and I've been doing my videos a little bit from China as well, like mid last year, early to mid last year. I was based in China for about 3.5 months. YouTube is blocked in China, so I was using ExpressVPN. This is back when my channel had like 500 subscribers, so a wee while ago, but I was using ExpressVPN to upload my videos, to watch YouTube. Yeah, and it was just a really reliable service. And the good thing about them is they've got servers all over the place, so if I needed to be in New Zealand to watch some of the New Zealand-based media stuff, I could do that. If I needed to be in America, I could jump across there. So there's plenty of servers. I mean, it's relatively cheap compared to, like I was talking about, SuperSport and Sky. All that stuff costs a ridiculous amount of money, so ExpressVPN is pretty cheap. They're working with me on this one as well to give a wee bit of a deal. So if you sign up to ExpressVPN using the link in the description, you can get 3 months free on top of a subscription that you sign up for. So have a look at that, check the deal out. It is a pretty good one. As I said, I'm pretty happy that it was ExpressVPN that came to me rather than another company, because I do know that ExpressVPN works. You can get it from less than $7 US a month. So as I said, relatively inexpensive, and it's got a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't work for you, you don't like it, you can just get rid of it. But it's pretty simple to use. Yeah, so you guys check it out if you are interested. Sign up through the link. It's good for you in that you get 3 months free, and it's good for me in that it helps out the channel. So it's all win-win, hopefully, for everyone. But have a look at this demo of how it works, and then we'll talk about the commentators for each of these broadcasters in a sec. So this is the ITV hub. This is where the Rugby World Cup 2019 games are going to be streamed on ITV in the UK. You can see when I try and access this stream, it gives me an error message: you do not have access. I'm never going to have access because I'm in New Zealand. So what I need to do is open up ExpressVPN, find a server location in the UK. When I use this for Rugby Pass, I'm using Singapore or Hong Kong to watch Champions Cup games, but for the World Cup, it's going to be the UK. There's multiple servers. Pick the one that works for you, refresh the browser for ITV, and this time, instead of giving me the error message that it's not available in my region, it's basically just going to connect to the content. So this is the way you'll be watching the Rugby World Cup if you do so via ExpressVPN. It's the same thing I do with Rugby Pass, as I said. It's really straightforward. Content loads up. And yeah, if you're looking for a way to watch the Rugby World Cup, this is one way to consider. So yeah, guys, that was ExpressVPN. It's a pretty quick and easy option. You can see that I was able to get onto ITV's hub. So if that's your way to watch the World Cup, that's cool. As I said, link in the description. Check it out. Otherwise, if you're already sorted, good to go. As for the commentary teams, which I've seen, some of them are not yet confirmed. Like, I haven't seen Fox Sport Australia confirm who their commentary team is going to be. You kind of got to imagine it's going to be that usual crew of Greg Clark, George Gregan, Rod Kafer, perhaps, Drew Mitchell, all those kind of guys that generally work for Fox Sports. They are not the most kind of down the middle commentators. They do get a wee bit of bias, but that's not only limited to the Australians. So yeah, I would imagine it's going to be them, but I guess we'll wait and see which guys get sent. For Ireland, on Irish Sports, it's going to be mostly, I think, fronted by Tommy Bowe. The main commentators are going to be Connor Morris and Liam Toland. And pundits, you got Gordon Darcy, Peter Stringer, Jerry Flannery, Amir Considine, who's a Irish women's national team player, along with Louise Galvin, who is the same. So it's a good mix of kind of former internationals, commentators, and women's players, which is good to see. Spark Sport, like I mentioned, have tried to pull out some of the stops to wow us with their commentary teams. So Scotty Stevenson is the main guy who's going to be fronting it. He left Sky Sports in New Zealand to move to Spark Sports, so he was a big acquisition for them. They've also got Stephen Donald, Sir Graham Henry, Conrad Smith from the quarterfinals. Damien McKenzie, Christina Sue, who's again a women's player for the Black Ferns, which is awesome. John Preston, James Gemmell, who used to work for Sky Sports in the UK as a rugby pundit or commentator or reporter. Anika Moa, who's an interesting one because she's more of a musician than a rugby analyst, but I guess she's got similar background to a lot of other people in that they've just come from a non-rugby situation like myself. Tamati Allison, Kevin Mialamu, and Isa Nathiwa, who should be able to give us some good insights into the Irish side, having spent so many years with Leinster. So, yeah, good for Damien McKenzie to get some work now that he's not going to be able to play at the World Cup. He'll at least get to go. But, yeah, there's a few former internationals there, so Spark Sport in New Zealand kind of trying to bring in some big names. Super Sport in South Africa, I couldn't confirm. At least when I looked, I couldn't find the confirmed list of who was going to be there, but I would assume it's Matt Pearce who's going to be leading it. He is probably one of my favorite commentators. The guy puts a lot of effort into the pronunciation of players' names, which is more than I can say for about 99%, maybe not 99, 90% of the other commentators. And it doesn't matter about the language. He puts as much effort in for the French players, the Pacific Island players. Obviously, he knows the South African ones, but the guy puts in a genuine effort, which is really, really appreciated. Owen Kamani, pronunciation not as good, but he is entertaining. Joel Stransky, Jean de Villiers, I would imagine it's going to be all these guys. For ITV, now their lineup is definitely top of the log. This is the last one I'll go over. Presenters, I might know their voices, but I'm definitely not familiar with all the names. Mark Pogach, Jill Douglas, Craig Doyle, and Martin Bayfield. Pundits, and this is where the names are getting dropped. Johnny Wilkinson, Sam Warburton, Brian O'Driscoll, Brian Habana. So just four of the biggest names in world rugby, former and retired guys, obviously. Sir Clive Woodward, Paul O'Connell, Gareth Thomas, George Gregan. George Gregan, maybe he's not going to be with Fox. Sir Ian McGeechan, Lawrence Delalio, Maggie Alfonsi, Sean Fitzpatrick, Jim Hamilton, Mike Phillips, Michael Liner, and commentators Nick Mullins, Miles Harrison, Martin Gillingham, Simon Ward, co-commentators Jamie Roberts, Ugo Monye, Shane Williams, Scott Hastings, Danielle Waterman, Ben Kay, and the phenomenal Alan Quinlan. So, yeah, I would imagine each will have their strengths and weaknesses as to which kind of runs the best presentation, but just in terms of pure name power, you'd probably have to go with ITV. But hey, as I said, you guys let me know your thoughts on the broadcast thing. Are you lucky enough to live in a country which has got it free to air, or are you like in New Zealand where you got to pay for it? Do keep in mind, ExpressVPN is another option of getting the rugby if you haven't decided how you're going to get it done. Link in the description. I'll stop going on about it, but it does help out the channel if you do go it that way, and 3 months free. So what else can I say? You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.